Poems to a Listener, readings and conversation with contemporary poets.
If we did not hold so much, I would not write. If it were not for memories, for the ghosts carrying the 100 clamoring moons, I would be safe. The forests keep saying I should not remember, but always there is the sound of their breathing. If it were all right just to love and die, I would not be in this empty place, 3 stories up looking out on nothing I know. If I could bind my mouth or teach my heart despair of living, I would not be here learning what to say.
Welcome to Poems to a Listener. I'm Henry Lyman, and in this half-hour program, we'll be visiting with poet Linda Gregg and listening to poems drawn mostly from her book, Alma, published by Random House. The poem we just heard begins, "If we did not hold so much, I would not write."
I do feel that I hold, carry, want to be responsible for a lot.
Everything you're taking in.
Yes, which is much too much to deal with.
Is that what you mean when you say that you're looking out on nothing you know?
Yes. It also comes from the very earliest ideas I had about being a poet. As a child, I felt that the world was poetry.
The world itself?
Well, underneath the world and behind it. But just simply the world as a child in nature. And I felt that life was wonderful, was sacred. I show them how the snow melts from the stone before it goes from the ground. Show them my joy without reason over this. I show them my passion for the white birches on the upper ground, that whiteness in the midst of gray maples, those tender trees among the winter-wise evergreens. I tell them of being 17 and alone, on my hands and knees with my mouth to the stream like a deer, not strange, but unseen, waking to the woods always and that sound. I tell them how it can be wild high in the trees and quiet underneath, where I go to see things which are dead and singing, seeking with my mouth what is lowest and most forlorn. I go where moss and ferns give themselves to my ignorance, making songs of themselves for me, and I sing back, making songs from the bones of belief.
We see you here, young, 17, in the forest.
I think the intimacy I had with nature at that time, becoming really like one of the animals in the woods, helped shape me. The thing that happens when you pay attention, when you're close to that world, the way it sings to you, the way you sing back. And I'm not only saying that this is true between me and the stones and the winter and the earth. I'm saying it's true between me and another person. There must be more than just emotion. Longing is enough to get me where I am, but it cannot change me from a plant that sings into a snake which sleeps like a doe in the sun and then slides into the blackness we balk from. The resonance of romance brightens the invisible so it can be seen. We must ascend into light to be manifest.
Something seems to be drawing you in to the snake, the plant, the deer, ultimately into that blackness we balk from.
To tell you the truth, I can't explain why this poem is attracted to going into the dark hole where the snake goes. I mean, it is that near the end it speaks of going into the darkness that we balk from.
Yes.
The next thing it talks about is going into the light.
To be manifest.
Yes, it's that I'm in love with light, with life.
Life.
And by needing to know the darkness in order to...
Come up again.
Yes.
To
Yes.
others.
Yes.
To be human.
More than that.
More
Also,
than that.
Yes. Also, because there's something else in us. The air fresh, as it has been for days. Upper sky lavender, deer on the far hill. The farm woman said they will be gone when you get there as I started down the lane. Jumped the stream, went under great eucalyptus, where the ground was stamped bare by two bulls who watched from the other side of their field all the time I went past and up the slope. The young deer were playing as the old ate or guarded. Then all were gone, leaping, except one looking down from the top. The ending made me glad. I turned toward the red sky and ran back down to the farm, the man, the woman, and the young calves, thinking that as I grow older I will lose my color, will turn tan and gray like the deer. Not one deer, but when many of them run away. Someday I will be like them, not young, but running to the next quiet place. It will be hard to see me. I will be healthy. I will walk and feed and run and be happy. But I think it will be hard to be with me.
I find a longing here on your part to turn into what you're looking at. I mean, to become the deer.
Yes. I think that I already have. I think I've been the deer for a long time. I think they allowed me to help complete a human problem that I have. And suddenly this poem allowed me, in that beauty of the early evening, the sun just about to go down, the last deer standing on the hill, all that gift of being in the world, it allowed me in that beautiful air to see myself as a woman becoming an old woman, a way of somehow accepting, finding a way of being that old person. I accepted that. And also, I saw that what I was, which was the deer, the peace, the beauty, all those things, I would be that. The odd thing is, at the end, when I say it will be hard to be with me.
It will be hard to be with me, is how the poem finishes.
Perhaps I wondered if there would be any others. Would there be others with me, actually with me? The square stone room makes a shape in the air to rest inside, a form for holding what is loved beyond naming, with gratitude and reverence, as Nietzsche said. We have other ways, other places, like figs left on the stone shelf above the patio as a gift. You go out and return with fruit you've picked, and I make jam for our crepes and yogurt, and we eat. It is still morning, and we look at each other even though we have known each other for years. You take me on your lap in the chair by the open window and pull off the shirts over our heads so we can feel the air and embrace and kiss high up on the mountain in the shaded room by the screen window where the air comes in and keeps touching us, and we are happy beyond saying, beyond any sounds even, less than nothing and deeper.
Here in this hut, which holds you and your lover, you touch, and in that touching, you both become less than nothing and something deeper.
Do you understand that?
I think so. Sometimes we can become extinguished almost in such moments. Something we really don't want goes. Self-consciousness.
If I'm lucky, if I've done right, the reader will know that experience.
I do, I think.
It's the intimacy, the real true closeness that people can share.
And openness.
Yes.
And for an instant, you become less than nothing and deeper.
Sense maybe like being able to yield or give yourself away to the way the world really is. And perhaps the way love is.
And perhaps the way we are, ultimately.
I will remember making love last night. I thought when you rolled on your back, we would not. You halted my hand on your arm, just touching my fingers. But then something happened, and we were all of a sudden part of the same weight.
The two of you, for one instant, are part of the same weight. Wonderful moment.
It's a gift.
I wonder, is it only in lovemaking that such unity can be reached? Or?
I think there are a lot of things people do in order to get a feeling of unity, besides romance and sexuality, because there's a kind of inborn tragedy about being. If we stayed together long enough to see the seasons return, to see the young animals and the opening of peonies and summer heat, then we could make sense of the hawk's calm or the deer. I could show you how repetition helps us to understand the truth. And we would know one another sometimes with a love that touches indifference.
The poem seems to hope for a long relationship.
In a way, the poem is creating a vision of marriage. That love isn't best at the beginning, when everything is fresh. It's a wonderful time. But what's really wonderful is living in a world and watching the seasons, seeing year after year your peonies bloom.
And year after year of yourselves blooming. How about that last phrase? A love that touches indifference.
There's a sense of otherness or of distance in us. And I'm saying that this love, based on really living with the person or in the world, that love even goes so far as to touch the farthest part of us.
Which is most distant from the other.
And I call it indifference.
Yeah.
Now, the image, the natural image, is the way the deer and the hawks and the trees live together. In a sense, they appear almost indifferent to each other, unless the hawk is coming down to catch a mouse or something. But you walk up the mountain and you see the hawk circling in the hot day. And in a sense, it doesn't care at all about you walking up there. That's the kind of indifference I'm talking about. It's a way of this kind of love accepting even that, touching even that, which is another way of saying the universe. He keeps her away, thinking they know each other too much, thinking it will be good again with her if he stays away long enough again, as in the old days when they knew nothing of each other and were intimate, as one enters a field of wind alone. She makes songs and things and is pleased, but understands that angels sad and poor fill the place of absence, of people, and of lovers, if there were any. Lovers, as the wind calls, desire and mean those who never know each other.
He's pushing you away.
The interesting question is why?
He feels that you know each other too much, according to the poem.
He wants to get back to the good old days when we knew nothing of each other and were intimate. As if it would be really exciting if he was with a woman that he didn't know. As if that's where the energy comes from. That's the excitement, is not knowing. Then it would be terrific. Then he could really be close.
Yeah.
See, to be close to the person who, in a way, isn't anybody, because they're new. I don't want to confuse the world any more with songs about love. They sound like the giant creakings of a wooden ship that never comes into port these days. And even if there was one, we would be lost before they decided who should board. No, the air is vast on bright days, and the sea full of myths and miseries, loose there in the transparent dark, like some relaxed dead thing pulled and pushed. No, let us stop telling each other stories about love, of naked bodies facing each other in the room lit only because another is. How quietly and slowly they approach. Let us leave out those visions. My job is to keep finding quiet rooms in this city, to know one move ahead so when the owner arrives I have a sense of real direction as I walk to the next one and the one after.
You're very much alone here.
I'm looking for love, and that requires faith, and it requires openness. And I've failed and tried and failed and tried, and I end up in some strange city, not knowing quite where to go next.
Just going from room to room to room.
You suffer, you get left, you fail. This poem says, let's stop singing songs about love because there is so many disasters, so many shipwrecks.
Shipwrecks.
Over love. But as it's saying it, you can feel, even with the sense that maybe that was the last time this woman is going to experience love, I think you also feel that she hasn't really let it go at all.
She's still holding hope.
Yes. And then immediately changes to the actual place she is, which is alone and having to go find some place to live. When the men leave me, they leave me in a beautiful place. It is always late summer. When I think of them now, I think of the place, and being happy alone afterwards. This time it's Clinton, New York. I swim in the public pool at 6 when the other people have gone home. The sky is gray, the air hot. I walk back across the mown lawn, loving the smell and the houses so completely it leaves my heart empty.
There's something good about that empty-heartedness, it seems to me.
And yet she's all alone.
But not necessarily lonely.
What does she have left?
I think she has the world around her.
That's true. That's maybe what she discovered.
I think so.
You see, what happens is the poem is wiser than I am.
That's good.
The poem knows that even though I was suffering, maybe even because of that, there was an openness toward the world, smelling the grass, loving the houses completely.
Right.
that the response out of loss is openness, and what really happens to your heart, my heart anyway.
It's left open.
Yes, but why?
For what's out there.
Maybe the poem is sort of whispering that it's not too bad, that the world is a beautiful place. The houses, the mown grass, the actual is there.
I think all poems do. All real poems do just that.
Give a gift like that?
Mm-hmm.
My father is dead, and there is nothing left now except ashes and a few photographs. The men are together in the old pictures. 2 generations of them working and boxing and playing fiddles. They were interested mostly in how men were men, muscle and size. Played their music for women, and the women did not. The music of women was long ago. Being together made the men believe somehow, something the United States of America could not give them. Not even the Mississippi, not running away or the Civil War or farming the plains, not exploring or the dream of gold. The music and standing that way together seemed to have worked. They married women the way they made a living, and the women married them back, without saying much, not loving much, not singing ever. Those I knew in California lived and died in beauty and not enough money. But the beauty was like a face with the teeth touching under closed lips and the eyes still. The men did not talk to them much, and neither time nor that fine place gave them a sweetness.
Your father's photographs.
When my father died, the only thing I received were a few photographs and ashes.
The men in these pictures have a certain camaraderie, a certain fraternity.
Yes, in one picture they all have boxing outfits on and they're standing with their arms up.
But the women, what do they have?
There, first of all, were almost no pictures of women. And when there were, they were kind of a blurred photograph of a woman on the beach in a dress.
What happened in their marriages?
Well, the men were in charge. The men were in charge, and the women went along, and something that matters a lot to me got lost.
The music?
Yes, the sweetness.
The music and the sweetness.
Mm-hmm. And I say, even in that fine place, that's California. I mean, that world out there, during the days of those early photographs, must have been amazing. Hillsides covered with flowers. And yet these men just ran the show. And they didn't include the feminine.
Which could also mean the feminine in themselves.
Yes, to express feelings. And if the masculine idea is not to show feelings at all, and the woman is dominated so she's not showing any feelings, then there are no feelings. The weight of myself, the weight of my mother, the weight of my sister, all the arguments. I think of our womanhood and how it slices our lives in half, and of the men who come toward us singing about loss, reading their list of orders, explaining to us of wholeness through mating, how they are the protection, we the bearers, they the fighters, we the hidden, they the cutters and we the carriers, they the landscape, and we the cave and the small bears frolicking in the warm grass. But my heart is strange. I see things not of this union. I see the sun. I see the water in the creek is going somewhere. See the swift moon. I see how the stars come when it is dark. So I leave the laws of my own kind and come ignorantly to this place where fineness is mud for strange life, and the sea's graveyard or offering place. Stand and wait, hoping to be taught, hoping to learn seeing. My big dumb being clearly mirrored in the water mirror, and move very little, not wanting the sea to work at refinement any more than is usual. The foreign others will say she is dazed or crazy. They will not ever think my waiting in this odd place is the journey. I lift my head to the mountain and try to smell something new. The whole world at once. No longer the salt shell and then the pine tree, wanting a longer unity to go back home to.
You really shy away from the traditional union of marriage as an institution.
This poem does criticize traditional marriage. It criticizes the man dominating the woman. But I don't think that's what the poem is really cares the most about.
It moves off from there.
It establishes it, and then it moves someplace else. I would love to have a traditional marriage if traditional didn't mean the man dominating the woman. If traditional meant permanence.
But not domination.
Not reduction of the other. So I'm not against marriage at all. I just want something in addition to that.
A longer unity. What is that longer unity you'd like to come home to?
I want to exist as a person in myself, in relation to my husband, in relation to community, the world, the universe, the sacred. Far is where I am near. Far is where I live. My house is in the far. The night is still. A dog barks from a farm, a tiny dog not far below. The bark is soft and small. A lamp keeps the stars away. If I go out, there they are.
We've been visiting with poet Linda Gregg and listening to poems drawn mostly from her book, Alma, published by Random House. I'm Henry Lyman. Thanks for being with us.
Poems to a Listener was produced by Henry Lyman in cooperation with WFCR Amherst, Massachusetts. Financial assistance was provided by the Massachusetts Council on the Arts and Humanities, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Massachusetts Foundation for Humanities and Public Policy.